I want to welcome everybody to the Daily Cheat Sheet. The boys are all here. Golan is back in the bunker on the 8th floor of a building in Israel. The dude is somewhere in the state of California. And I want to remind everybody right away to, when you listen, please go follow us, subscribe all over, no matter what platform, subscribe, like, and follow, and give us that 5 stars whenever you can. Spotify, Apple, very helpful. Sorry, we did not have a show yesterday due to technical difficulties, but we are back. And, man, I just got to say, it's Hakeem Jeffries finally came out today and said he's endorsing Mamdani. And it's sort of like you remember when everybody would say about Trump, like, how can you support Trump? How can you defend Trump when he had half the country voting with him, right? This is a lunatic. I mean, and this shows you how crazy and demented this party has become, that not one person, remember they would always say, not one person will stand up to Trump. Where is any big Democrat standing up to Mamdani? This is how frightening that party has become, man.
No, that party it's now the Democrat Socialist Party of America. It's no longer the Democratic Party.
Can we put
it has fully been
in?
Communist? Yes, communist, socialist.
The DCP. I like how that sounds better because it's closer to CCP.
Yeah, the DCP. So now it's official. The communist socialists have officially completely taken over the party.
Absolutely insane, Golan. I mean, I don't think there's any other way you could say it, because I always love to put it into context. Remember when everybody always said, why are you not standing up to Trump? Why this and this and this? And this is when he wasn't president. These people are actually in power right now. And yeah.
There's no question about it. You actually nailed it. The question of how does nobody stand up to this person? You have right now Democrats within your midst, a guy who literally is, and I'm just going to go ahead and repeat some of the stuff that was said during the debate because it was so painfully accurate, is making promises that he can't keep. Number one I think it was Ben Shapiro who said is making promises like he's running for grade school council, or he's like, I run on a platform of cookies and no homework, things he can't do. And all the kids who are dumb enough are like, I like no homework, as if the guy could actually tell the administration to stop giving homework to the children. Him making these promises would be bad enough. Okay, that already alone would make you gullible and an idiot if you were voting for him. But that's not the reason why Hakeem Jeffries is spineless. The reason he's spineless is because this guy is also, in addition to being a socialist, who is now running to run the economic center of the United States.
It's very hard not to laugh, by the way.
Exactly. It's so ludicrous. But on top of that, okay, and this is the real reason, you have someone who has made sure that the Jews, let's just put the Americans aside for a moment, the Jews in one of the most Jewish cities in the entire world in danger. Globalized the Antifada, refusing to condemn October 7th and all the rest. This is a guy who actually is, I know we overused the word, but is one of the people who is using taqiyya, right, the Muslim art of lying to you, in order to support jihadism. And you, Hakeem Jeffries, have just given him a thumbs up. That tells us everything we need to know about you and about your entire party.
And, you said he's putting Jews in danger, which he is. He's an Islamo-Nazi, jihadist, apologist, all of that stuff. His imam, the guy that he is out there campaigning with, is an unindicted co-conspirator of 9/11, the downing of the Twin Towers, the biggest mass killing of Americans on American soil. That's
just one. That's just one of the buddies that he's got.
Yeah. He's a Muslim Brotherhood plant. This guy is dangerous for America. And now I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is going to set a precedent. If they elect this guy mayor of New York, America is in danger. Because it's a bad signal that he's sending out to all the jihadis, run for office, which is what they do. When they try to colonize a place, modern day colonization, not the ones with the sword, because that didn't work. For 1400 years, they tried to invade Europe and the UK, Europe. It didn't work, but they managed to do it through immigration, and they've become the mayors of all the major cities in the UK. And France is having the same thing. And now you're seeing it in Sweden. And now we're seeing it in America. where you have now there's a woman out of Georgia who's running. She's a jihadi. She's a
You're
Jordanian.
talking about the woman in the Dearborn, Michigan woman?
No, I'm talking about there's another woman now running for the governor of Georgia, and she's from the country of Jordan. She claims to be a Palestinian. This is dangerous. This is what they're doing. And Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood are funding all these campaigns, and this is their move to take over America.
And you're talking about Minneapolis, you're talking about Dearborn, you're talking about Georgia, you're talking about Mamdani. This is just
we already saw what they do.
They're
Look at the mayor. Did you see the mayor of Dearborn when a Christian pastor got up and said, "I object to you naming a street after a guy who praised the Beirut bombing that killed our, Hezbollah leaders." They did the Beirut bombing. It killed 220 something U.S. servicemen, and they were naming a street after him in Dearborn, Michigan. And a Christian pastor got up and said, "I object to this. I think it's inappropriate to name a street after someone who praises the people who killed our people." And the mayor of Dearborn told him that he is not welcome in their city, and the day he moves out of their city, he's going to throw a parade. That's what's coming. That's what these guys do. They are intolerant, absolutely intolerant, and they're using our tolerance against us. They are using the soft-minded Democrats to vote them into office, and then they kick them out. They kick those same people. They kick the people who voted you into office. They are no longer welcome.
By the way, to add to your point, I don't think they're just funding Democrat people. Obviously, I think they're pretty much
funding everything.
They're funding all of Congress.
They fund both sides.
It's very interesting when it's become like so. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but go on for them to say, "Well, we're going to deny AIPAC money." But at the same time, we have no problem with Qatar money, which is a lot more. Seth Moulton, who's running this guy, Seth Moulton, I believe he's from Jersey, maybe, who came out and said this. And this is where we're at. And I know Mark Levin keeps on screaming about Qatar and Saudi Arabia, but let's not forget who we are deciding to get into business with. I know it's only 24 years ago that 9/11 happened, but Saudi Arabia did kill 3,000 people. It's important that we remember who these countries are.
You're absolutely, but not only, by the way, but it's important. You said, oh, they tolerate the money coming from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, or what have you. They don't even talk about it, Judah. They don't even say this Qatari money. It's like something doesn't exist. We hear all the time the buzzword, right? That like dog whistle, AIPAC, 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 AIPAC. When was the last time you ever heard, what is the name of an organization that uses Qatari money? Can you even think of one? We do this professionally. We like look stuff up. We're well read. We research stuff. What's the equivalent of AIPAC for the Qataris? Do you know? I don't, because it's never mentioned.
Listen, I think that's a great point. Mend, you wanted to say something, and then we'll wrap
Yeah, what
up
I was going to say is that out of all the nations, we should remember that 19 of the hijackers were Saudi nationals. That is important, but it's also important to take stock of where we are today. And where we are today is Saudi Arabia, who really does not like Qatar, has changed. They have changed in their practice. You're not allowed to have Palestinian protests in Saudi Arabia. It's really critical, and it's super important that they follow through with this change. And MBS looks like he is doing that. Qatar has not changed. Turkey has not changed. And those are the real threats to our country right now. So if you talk about Islamists coming in sheep's clothing, that is those two countries. Qatar and Turkey are absolute antithetical to the West. They undermine us. They've poured, especially Qatar, billions of dollars into our universities to get our students to turn against America. How this administration is not bringing that up, and they're allowing that tiny little country of 330,000 people to have such an outsized role in our geopolitical politics makes no sense.
Right. I think we lost Golan for a second, but I think it really makes total sense, because when you consider that everybody is in a sense bought and paid for, right? There's $30 billion that.
Yeah, but you know who doesn't need to be bought and paid for? Trump. Trump doesn't need any of their money. And if there was one guy who would stand up and say, hey, Qatar, I actually would like to do business with you, but why the hell are you funding anti-American professors at every single one of our universities? Why does Al Jazeera in Arabic demonize us while your English version of it not so much. Why is everything skewed against us, our way of life? What are you doing? Call them out on it.
I think you're breaking a great point, and go on. I do want to finish this topic, but it's so interesting. And Men's bringing up such a good point, such a fairly decent point about Qatar and that idea that Israel's the one that has to be babysat, not the nations that have been slaughtering their own people, everybody in that region, doing some of the most demonic things regions could possibly do. World leaders that, yes, I get it. Now they've learned, put on a suit, don't speak in certain ways. But I find it amazing that Israel's the one that has to be babysat, not Hamas, not Qatar.
Correction, Judah. It's BB-sat.
BB, right. That's the new term, is BB-sat. I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't want to bring that trope up into our vernacular. But yes, it's BB-sat as they are calling it. Go on.
Who knows how much of that is for the public to see whether Trump truly believes or not. If it's a transitional thing, post ceasefire, let it be. It means Trump is keeping an eye on the Middle East. Let them do what they have to do. If all goes as planned, the plan that both Bibi and Trump both had a hand in is going to ultimately execute in a way that allows for this to be a place where people don't have to live under threat of bombs and attacks and all the rest forever. Let them call it whatever they want.
And yes, just so people know, Golan is out of a bomb shelter, so his audio will be a little scratchy, and that's okay. We will take a scratchy Golan as long as Golan appears. Men, today at the Supreme Court, this is pretty awesome. 24 attorney generals supporting Trump and against birthright citizenship. It's notable that, we do have 26 attorney generals that are conservative, and Pennsylvania and Ohio did not show up for this. 24 attorney generals were there to support this birthright citizenship. I know this is a big thing of yours, birthright citizenship, especially when it comes to people running for the House and the Senate and all these things. But we're talking about birthright citizenship, and I don't really think people understand this well enough. Is the idea that you could be born here automatically makes you a citizen is really askew. So I'm happy that these attorney generals are doing this.
It's the birthright citizenship is a relic from the past, and it had to do with slavery, not people that are sneaking into the country. And the idea was, if you were brought here against your will and you've been living here for a long time and you have kids and grandkids, they should automatically become citizens because you did not break our laws. Someone else broke our laws by bringing you here. So that's the basis of birthright citizenship. It does not mean
my
that
mistake,
you could
by the way. I got it confused. Sorry, with anchor baby. So I thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah. It does not mean that you could come here when you're 9 months pregnant, illegally, sneak across the border, maybe bring some fentanyl with you, maybe trafficking minors, and then you have a kid, and all of a sudden, that kid is an American. Makes no sense. And then what you're talking about is anchor baby. So when the baby
wouldn't
is
that
American,
be an anchor baby?
That is. When the baby's an American citizen, but the parents are not, we call that an anchor baby. And they could then pull the parents, fast-track parents to become
that is
citizens.
the key. Why is it called an anchor baby? It's not just that you drop anchor. It's that in doing so, the entire ship stays as well. So the idea of them, and it happens all the time, and even those who are not doing the smuggling and are not working with coyotes and all the rest, but sneak in just so they can have a baby on American soil, means that now, little by little, through the kind of bastardization of bureaucracy, can bring more and more and more of their family members over because, hey, our kid's American, according to your birthright citizenship. And so it becomes the anchor that draws over the rest of the fleet. That's the idea.
That's why we missed the professor. Great analysis on that. I'm very disappointed in Pennsylvania and Ohio for not showing up. But go on, while we have you on the screen, I think it's incredible that somebody donated $130 million to the Department of War, and now to pay for our troops. Well, the shutdown is going on, and there's arguments over whether that's actually legal for people to pay, because you're allowed to make donations. I don't know necessarily if you get to choose where those donations go, but whoever did this, good on them. That is true patriotism. $130 million, which will not cover the cost for all our armed forces, obviously. But what a hell of a gesture.
And I love it's an anonymous donation. All right, look, I could argue both sides of this because on one hand, you give someone an anonymous donation and who knows what it is that you're asking for in return. $130 million is nothing to sneeze at. On the other hand, it's heroic, right? Like someone stepping up to help the troops specifically, right? This is not use the 130 for whatever initiative you want or some obscure thing or only if you have this partisan politics thing. This is literally designed to help the troops while Congress is bickering. And you know, it also is a big question of how do we finance the military? How is this something that also gets shut down when the government gets shut down? And why are more people not upset about that? You know, the idea that the Democrats, as you mentioned, Judah, at least last week, you were talking about the Democrats were patting themselves on the back because they had this winning. We've shut down the government and we look like heroes. And they have no understanding of how much the American people hate what they're doing. And part of what they're doing is saying, hey, remember once upon a time it was support the troops? Now it's suddenly don't pay the troops. So to me, this whole thing is fascinating. And this private donor offering millions to pay the service members. On one hand, it could sound like mixing private influence with public duty. But on the other hand, how this is the only way that you can support the troops right now, as far as I'm concerned.
I think whoever made that donation should get to say who we bomb next.
He should. Right. The missiles. Men, they should have on the missiles anonymous.
And it wasn't me yet. I did not sell my crypto, so that donation, unfortunately, was not mine. But it does prove our point that Americans are the most generous nation on earth.
Well, now
And
hang
yet
on. I'm
one
just going to
citizen
say,
stand up.
we do know that the donor's identity is anonymous, which could also mean the donor's nationality is anonymous. There is no transparency here, which is why I keep saying I could argue both sides of this, because what you just said would be great. But who are these people and who are they actually supporting or not supporting? That's why there are a couple of question marks I'd like answered before I fully cheer this on.
I love it that, while we're talking about this donation that may or may not have come from a foreign entity that has a lot of money, sounds a little Qatari, but our Department of Warhead has a tattoo on his arm that says Kufar, which loosely translated means denier, or it could also mean infidel. Infidel is the other thing they loosely translated to.
Well, it's a lot better than it's compare and contrast. Remember when everybody was going after Hegseth for his tattoo on the left, when none of them are going after this
Democrat guy,
this Democrat from Maine,
Nazi skulls and crossbones,
who's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And as we discussed this on the other day, it's you could chuck mistakes up when you're 16 and 17, but when you're 22 years old and you get a Nazi tattoo go on, you've sort of passed the point of like it being a harmless little mistake and not having it removed.
Did you hear Bernie Sanders? I'm going to put quote unquote defending Graham Plattner and defending the tattoo. One of the funniest things to me is when Democrats know that what they're saying is total horseshit, and yet they recognize that they're so deep that they just have to keep digging, keep lying. And so Bernie Sanders, I think we all made mistakes, and we think, sometimes mistakes are tattoos and tattoos are mistakes. And, it's just a little thing. And haven't we all made mistakes? It's like, Bernie, you of all people that has gone after everybody for the smallest infractions, this is where you're cool. This is where you draw the line on your ire, is the Nazi tattoo on the guy's chest. Methinks thou dost protest not enough. And this is the entire group right now, is they're supporting Mamdani, the Islamist. They're supporting Graham Plattner with a Nazi tattoo. Are we seeing a pattern emerge here? Are you guys noticing it?
Wait, there's more, Mend.
There's more.
Wait, there's more. Out of Delaware, Mend, a Democratic staffer allegedly threatened to put a knot on the head of his boss's black GOP opponent, leading a Virginia magistrate for a protective order for the Republican AC Cardoza from Delaware. You can't make this up. He threatened to put a knot on the head of a black man. And nothing.
There's a famous quote by, I think it was Churchill, and he said, when the fascists show up, they're going to label themselves anti-fascists. And that is exactly what we're seeing. You have the Democrat Party that has become the Communist Party of fascism, and they call themselves the anti-fascists, and they love to say that, they're the moral high ground. They take the moral high road and all of that stuff. But everything that we're seeing is evidentiary of the opposite. So, me with my head on straight, I used to go both ways. I would vote for the Democrats. I'd
Really?
vote for the Republicans politically, doofus. But today's day and age, I cannot understand anyone who votes Democrat. You show me, unless you're voting for John Fetterman or I don't even know who else, Richie Torres. There's like literally 3 or 4 that I could count that are still normal. The rest of them are batshit crazy. They are the party of crazy. And if you're anyone who cares about America, you would be looking at this stuff and saying that is not aligned with my values or anything that we've stood for the last 250 years. They're gone. It shouldn't even be close. Everything should be a landslide right now. With the amount of crazy shit that they're doing, everything should be a landslide for their opponents, but we're not seeing it.
Just so you know,
look at New York.
But I'm saying, man, last presidential election essentially was a modern day landslide. I mean, you're never going to get back to the days where, Nixon took 49 states and Reagan took 49 states. We've become so tribal in certain parts that it's never. I could say this. I'm not going to promise, but I could honestly say I think in the next midterms, Republicans pick up 20 seats. A goal on, especially if Trump could pass this transparency with medication that he's trying to get passed, which is extremely popular, this bill with transparency. And look, he even has Mark Cuban offering up his services to help lower the cost of medications. He's taking all their talking points. The only talking points they have are violence against ICE, violence against fellow Americans, and rebranding the CCP.
I think you're absolutely right. I will say one thing that, Kamala Harris has threatened to, or should I say promised, I'm not sure which, to run again. And if that happens, you might still see a landslide. So, we can cross our fingers and hope for that. But the idea that the Republicans...
Get what men's point is.
No, of course, I'm being playful. Of course, I understand his point.
Your point isn't missed. Listen, man, the Palisades burnt down. They are not rebuilding homes in the Palisades. Those same you-know-whats are going to be the ones that still vote Democrat. They have not.
And that's what I'm saying, is that
this is exactly right. But by the way,
a canary of the coal in the...
And we see it all over the United States. We see that, we've talked about it before, and we see it all the time. Communities that have everything falling apart, infrastructure falling apart, the schools are falling apart, the crime is skyrocketing, all of the things that we talk about on a regular basis. And they not only have been continuing to make it like that, the definition of an insanity thing, continuing to try the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And they're going to continue doing it in many of these cases. One of the things that we've talked about is that the way Trump has sent in troops or nationalized local police in DC, things like that, where they have made a difference in terms of crime, and the people who live there can actively see and feel the difference. And even some of those people are still going to convince themselves, like a self-gaslighting, nope, still got to vote for the other people, even though now I can walk down the street without fear of getting raped and murdered. There is almost like a Stockholm syndrome for those people who they are so convinced they cannot change their vote, regardless of whether it is actually going to hurt them in the process. I think that's Men's point, and I think it's well taken.
Yeah, no, listen, yeah. I agree with Men 100% on that. I wish you could wring people's necks in a non-violent way and be like, wake,
just shake
sort
them.
of like,
you just want to shake them.
You can't.
Or
you
what's
can't.
that serum that they give you?
And what I'm saying is that Mamdani is a canary in the coal mine. You're seeing that. You're seeing that Gavin Newsom still has a lot of popularity in California, even as he ruined this state. The guy has been in office for 12 years. First he was in the legislature, and then he had 2 terms as governor. So he's had 12 years in office.
He was also a mayor. Don't forget he was
mayor.
And
he was the mayor of San Francisco. So what is that?
When he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle.
That's at least 16 years that he's been ruining this state, and yet he still has the gall to get up there and put out these memes and these posts as if he owns Trump. He's owning him. I mean, this guy has no self-awareness, zero. There's nothing there. There's no shame. And that's the thing you see. is that on that side, even when they lose, there's no shame. Even when they get completely called out and displayed, everybody could see the fraud that these people are. They still come out and do it again. So there's absolutely no shame. There's no guilt. There's no nothing. And the worst part is that the voters, these woke voters, keep on backing them. And I don't think they're expecting different. You say that they're doing the same thing, expecting something else. They're not. What they're doing is they're doing the exact same thing because they're voting with their tribe. It's not even a party. It's a cult. They vote with the cult, and the cult always blames the other party. That's it. That's all they do. The Democrats don't have a platform these days. Their whole platform is anti-Trump. Orange man is bad.
Golan, I want to wrap this up quickly, but he raises an interesting point because I've often heard this talked about with addiction when people say, people that are addicts are with the definition of insanity. And I'm like, I always expected the same results. Okay. When I was drinking, I always knew there would be a bad outcome. I didn't know what the bad outcome would be, but I kept on doing it because it's what I knew, right? Why do people stay in bad relationships? Why do people not move houses? Why do people not go to a different therapist? Because it's the devil they know. And that's really how you have to get people is like, as you said, the Stockholm syndrome or whatever you want to call it. You have to get them away from the devil being comfortable.
It's an unbelievable point, and of course you're saying it from a place of really understanding. Let's do it another way. Instead of trying the same thing and expecting a different result, it's making the same mistake, recognizing that it's a mistake, recognizing that the outcome is going to be bad, and doing it anyway simply because it is something that you know. You know what? I know plenty of people who do not know the politics of the people they're voting for. They go in and they either hit left or right. My grandparents, my father used to talk about this. My grandparents would go in. They had no idea what the politics was. If it said Democrat, they clicked the button. My father, to his credit, knew a bit more, but very similarly on the other side, he would walk in and if it said Republican, he would click the button. And people like us, we may click certain buttons more consistently, but we understand why we're doing it. We understand when it's not working. We go after people on both sides of the aisle when they are not doing their job, when they don't keep their promises, when they are not working toward the ideals of America. And it doesn't matter what letter they have next to their name. So there are many people who simply know because of the way I'm born and bred, because of the way my parents taught me, whatever it is, I have to hit this button. It's a really good point, Judah. And we have to figure out, like you were able to get shaken out of that consistent mistake pattern, how do we get people to do that when it comes to politics?
Can I tell you something I was thinking that's very interesting? And thank you for the compliment. And as we're witnessing now, there's a real onslaught right now onto Mamdani. And the messaging has absolutely been brilliant. The problem is it's 5 months too late with this messaging. Right. So, like how Trump has the whole website, promises made, promises kept. Mamdani, we have to assume, is going to get elected. But for everybody that's running after, it should be promises made, promises that will never be kept. And because and put a list of all the things that these promises can no way. You have to know how to fight these people. And it's not branding them how we've been branding them. But branding people a communist, hey, the left enjoys that, right? That's like they enjoy that.
Badge of honor for them.
It's a badge of
That's
honor.
correct.
So it's like you almost
socialist,
have to
communist,
right, so
all of it, yeah.
Right. So you almost have to reverse engineer this thing, how they're trying to do now, and say, well, how? How is that going to be paid for? How is our city going to look when we have no police? No, but, it's sort of like put up crime statistics, put up all these promises that are going to lead these cities into becoming Detroit, which has never recovered, man. I'm getting that from you, by the way.
I don't think the people care about that. It's so funny because there's this guy on social media who he's been exposing woke people forever. It was with the Black Lives Matter, then the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Hamas war, and now it's Mamdani. And he's out there and he says he pretends to be working for the Mamdani campaign, doing some sort of survey. Will you support Mamdani? Great, sign your name. Let me just tell you a couple of his policies before you do. And he goes through them. We want to tax white people, white neighborhoods. Like, that's racist. He's anti-gay. He was just photographed with a leader of, I forgot which African country that made it illegal to be gay. Uganda. The person that he was photographed with actually wanted execution for gay people, I believe.
Not
But the
not
final
wanted.
law-
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Not wanted. She was the one who implemented the law that said that there would be the death penalty for homosexuality.
So there you go.
The
This
way
is who they're
Cuomo put it
proposing.
during the debate was her nickname is Gay Killer, which I don't think he made up, by the way.
Right. So, I get your point.
Don't
There has
care.
to
The
be-
woke people don't
I
care
know,
about
I
facts. You
understand.
can tell them that everything will go to hell. That they don't care about. What they do care about is gay rights. He's against that. Racism. He's a racist. Sharia law, women's rights, like all of those things. That's where you hit him at.
Well, that's
'cause
what
these are
I'm
the things that
saying.
he-
Reverse. That's what I'm saying is instead of the branding that people wear with a compliment, wear with go on with around their chest, go the reverse way of start showing them exactly who these people are. Listen, the New York thing is done. It's gone with. I love that the Knicks. It's so funny. Like, how like no musicians always, every time Trump plays a song, they always like say, we didn't endorse that song being played.
Like,
So the Knicks
didn't that
came
just
out
happen
and-
with Kenny Loggins recently?
Yeah, Kenny Loggins, right.
Jesus.
I know. And when Trump was putting up the clips of the No Kings, and I guess he was putting on Danger Zone, but the Knicks have said, in no way do we endorse Mamdani. And I thought that was really funny that actually happened where somebody said that.
Well, I understand, by the way, why did they say that? They didn't just randomly come out and say, yeah, we don't like this guy. The claim being made by Mamdani's campaign is literally using an altered version of the Knicks, iconic orange and blue logo, the actual logo that says Mamdani on it. And they're basically saying tacitly like, oh, yeah, no, the Knicks are on our side. The Knicks. And they've replaced the word Knicks with Zoran, but it makes it seem like the Knicks are endorsing him. So they had to say, they actually had to come out and say, not only do we not endorse him, they had to slap a cease and desist letter on the campaign for using their logo and for inferring that they were on his team. Kind of amazing, actually. I hadn't seen that one before.
No, it's fantastic, and it also shows you the winds have changed a little bit. Because I think if Trump had not gotten elected, that would have been a much tougher choice to make. But I want to move on a little bit to, obviously you're in Israel right now, so they're trying to bring back this ICE tracker, and and you have a bunch of people coming out. You had Letitia James come out, and you had somebody from Chicago come out, and you're just having a bunch of people creating portals to evade ICE. And you have all of these, whether it's Nancy Pelosi. So you had Pam Bondi today that's warning Pritzker and all of these people, Pelosi, to stop with this anti-ICE stuff. And you're putting them in harm's way. You're putting them in danger. And good for Pam Bondi for doing this, but I actually want to see somebody arrested. ICE has been under attack. As Men brought up the other day, 1,000% increase in attacks on ICE. These trackers, anything should be shut down immediately, and the people that are making this should be arrested.
Yeah, look, it's very, unfortunately, there are legal loopholes for this sort of thing. You remember at one point they had someone tracking Musk's plane. This was a while back, and then they all of these
and
things
the illegal immigration app.
Exactly, where they're saying like legally we can show you where live locations of agents are, but the problem is it does ultimately amount to coordinating obstruction of law enforcement. That's where, if we can trigger that as the concept, we're basically assisting in the illegal activities like helping to evade immigration enforcement. That's when it could trigger criminal investigation, because at that point you can actually label it as obstruction of justice or aiding and abetting or even conspiracy. If that can happen, then Bondi can make a move. Otherwise, it's just, hey, free speech. So we have to find a way to put the hammer down, but doing it in a way that will not allow it to just become another legal loophole where these people might get arrested and then just disappear out of the system immediately afterwards. There has to be something concrete that we can put on their heads as it happens.
Mand, I want to ask you a question. Because we talk about messaging quite a bit. So ICE is obviously putting up tons of ads and people are signing up. Do you think it would pay to have advertisements to see the good they're actually doing and to talk about the vilification that's going on? and to show this hatred from the left, because I think most people, especially independents and Republicans, support ICE in great numbers, is to put up commercials for what Pelosi and all these people are encouraging, is to highlight this. Because now when we talk about things, not everybody knows what's going on. They're seeing clips that go to their algorithms. They're not noticing that these events are going on, but these are absolutely huge stories.
Yeah, the administration did a little bit of that where they put the mugshots and the crimes that these people committed outside the White House about a month or two ago. But they should be doing this on a much bigger scale. They should be buying ads on left and center left leaning publications and put it out there who these people are, what their crimes were, and why they're getting kicked out of the country. The problem that this administration is having is that the left is cherry picking. They'll find one guy who has been living in the country for 30 years and has kids and grandkids.
Some guy that got caught up in a net or something.
He got caught up in a dragnet, exactly. And he wound up being deported as well. And they go, see, they're just rounding up. The Gestapo is just rounding up people on the streets. They're wearing masks and they're snatching everybody. I even saw a video when I saved it. It's of a black woman saying, now this is what ICE is doing. And you see a cop grabbing a little black kid, a black cop grabbing a black kid. And then it immediately cuts to the black cop. And he goes, I can't believe that they're using my photo and my picture when I was playing cops and robbers with my son to push a fake narrative that I was an ICE agent grabbing a kid and trying to have him deported. He goes, the level that these people will drop to, and it's all over social media. It doesn't matter. It's already out there. So yes, to answer your question, Judah, yes, they should be doing a lot more publicity. This administration would do themselves a huge favor if they highlighted the positive things that they are doing and getting rid of these violent criminals. They don't even have to show. I mean, there should be a website with all of the people in it.
There's something else though too, and you're right, man. But there's even a step beyond that. Research shows that when media frames issues in a way that people understand, we're talking about like issue salience, right? When that happens, that actually shifts public opinion. So it's how you frame immigration enforcement. So if you can show its effects in a way that makes people feel like this has a net positive for me, then you're shaping public opinion. If you can actually focus on results, if you can say not just a sheer number of people removed, because then people imagine these like doomsday scenarios of like nets and thousands of innocent people. But if you're talking about how much safer communities become, how many thousands or millions of dollars of taxes are saved, then you're talking about resonating a message with voters that actually makes them actually care about law and order.
It should be on all fronts. So yes, you're right. How much safer, how much tax dollars we save, how many rapists were kicked out of the country, how many pedophiles were kicked out of the country. Like those are the things. And then you have a website with a database, and it's not just a number. With every single number, there's a picture and a profile of the person that has been deported. And if you even want to get into it, you could possibly even show some of the victims if they're above age. But that would be a great use of resources at this point.
Can I tell you why it would be a great use too? It's because any of us, you included, right? You have a bunch of people, if you're talking to them and they're saying about how much they hate ICE, you could say, go to this website, and you could actually show them exactly, go to this website, just go to this website and look at it.
Forget go to this website. This is not a world of go to this website. Put those clips on social media and find a way for, as long as you can get past the Chinese TikTok algorithm. Imagine if I went to TikTok and instead of seeing how it's just Trump bad man, orange man bad, all of that stuff, I saw something where it was the flash of an illegal immigrant face and it said convicted of rape, convicted of rape. The next one, convicted or convicted. And then it said not convicted of rape because deported. And then it showed a woman and it said not raped, and over again, it's a message of this is the net result. You are now seeing what used to be the policy and now what currently is the policy. And here you see people that are not victims because we actually implemented something. You do that in the right way, you pull the heartstrings in the correct way on social media, that's when you're going to see people start going, Yeah, because I'm seeing myself in the not raped woman, and now I support the policy that made me not get raped.
Well said, both of you. Great points, both of you. The dude has got to cut out early. We wish him the best. He made many great points this week, and thank you for covering for the professor admirably all week,
Thank you,
except
sir.
for
Thank you,
yesterday
sir.
when we had technical difficulties. No, he did an
You were
amazing job. He was, but you
I
were missed.
missed you.
But the dude was bringing the facts. So get off the screen, men, so we can continue. We'll talk to you in a bit. Golan in the bomb shelter in Israel. I want to know, what is it like on the ground right now in Israel? What is it like?
It's a great question. Tonight,
I do ask them every once in a while. Thank you.
you know what? The beautiful thing is, my friend, is without you actually hosting this show and running it, it would just be us chatting into the wind. So I always appreciate your direction. This is a really solid question, something that I didn't expect you to ask. And I think it's a very valid question considering we're post ceasefire. You wouldn't know that just a little while ago, the country was at war. This is, except for the people who are still feeling the residual effects of it. But I was just at a Shabbat dinner tonight, and this was a group of people sitting outside speaking about how proud they are to be here, speaking about how proud they are to be in their homeland, in the land of their ancestors. This is genuinely a very organic conversation that happens amongst Jews in Israel. And it wasn't something where people were speaking out of fear, and it wasn't something where people were speaking out of anger. There is a lot of hope here that this ceasefire is going to at least last long enough for us to be able to figure out what the next step of the problem is. Of course, for a ceasefire to hold, you do have to have players on both sides who are interested in actual peace. On one side, you have a country that really all they want to do is be left alone in their homeland to just live their lives quietly, to believe what they want to believe, much like in America, freedom of religion, all of that. And they have that here in spades. And on the other hand, you have a group of genocidal psychopaths who want to eradicate their enemies or anyone they perceive to be their enemies. So it makes it difficult for that peace to last. But the people on let's just be very honest, the good side, as opposed to the evil side, over here in Israel are feeling very, very comfortable right now. There's a celebratory nature to the way they're going about their day to day. And I was in Jaffa for almost the entire week, Yaffo. And it is almost every shop is owned by an Arab, for all of you apartheid idiots. And they absolutely live in this beautiful coexistence. You do not fear for yourself. My friend's 6-year-old daughter going into shops on her own, the 9-year-old and the 12-year-old going out into the streets without a care, something that in America and certainly in Barcelona would never happen in a million years. The 3 kids going out to the park on their own. But beyond that, I'm walking the streets and I go to the shop to get a soda. I go to the shop to get an ice cream cone. I'm dealing with Arabs the entire time. I've got a big star around my neck. They are comfortable with me. I'm comfortable with them. It's all we literally saying the word brother to each other. I'm not
Well, I just want to put a
exaggerating.
little perspective on it. You've obviously living in Barcelona, where you've had reverse in Spain, where you've been less safe, where you're living right now, being attacked on the
100%.
train, being many things for that same star. And I think it's important for people to understand that exactly what you're talking about in Israel right now is this image they have of the people within Israel. Yeah, there's so much infighting. But at the end of the day, as your encounters on the street and all this stuff goes, 90% as the Sabbath is being brought into Israel, 90% of people will wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, a peaceful Sabbath, and from all walks.
I didn't hear. I was in Tel Aviv. I was in Yaffo. I was in Ra'anana. I'm in Netanya right now. That's all in one day. And I was in Herzliya earlier, and literally every single interaction that I heard today ended with Shabbat Shalom. Every single one. That includes
That's
with
exactly
the Arabs.
right.
That includes with the Arabs. My brother said something I'm going to repeat verbatim because I thought it was such a brilliant insight. He wasn't even trying to say it as an insight. He was just saying it as a fact, but it's such a brilliant insight into how the mentality is here and what people really don't understand. He lives here and I do not. And he was saying to me, one thing that I think about as a parent here is if my kid ever went missing in Israel, I know that not only am I going to get him back, I'm going to get him back after a bath and after he's been well fed and probably with some new pajamas because everybody here is family. And then he paused and he said, even if an Arab finds him, I'm going to get him back in that same situation, that same position, because that's just what all of us do here. We all take care of each other. And that is absolutely the truth. And that's something that people do not understand. And I think in many ways they cannot understand until they experience it firsthand. In the interim, like they kept saying, believe all women. I don't need you to believe everybody, but I do need you to believe when every Israeli tells you the same thing. And that includes Arabs, by the way. Israeli doesn't mean Jew, morons. It means Christians. It means Arabs. It means Jews. All of them tell you what life is like here. And because you're trying to repeat a narrative or sell some kind of, apartheid stupidity, you refuse to listen. But this is the way it is here. And that is why this place is so special.
Well said, and beautiful imagery of what you painted right there. Very Rockwellian. So good work. And there's just one more story I want to talk about before I ask you a certain thing. This ballroom thing will not end. And Trump is now trolling them with the ballroom when they're all assuming that he's gonna name it after himself. And mind you, this has all been done under private donations. So the White House response to reports that Trump named the new ballroom after himself. So any announcement made on the name of the ballroom will come directly from the president. This is coming from Levitt today. And though it's anonymous and not through anonymous and unnamed sources, White House spokesman Deborah Engel actually told Fox News Digital Friday, this is the story that will not end. Listen, I don't think he's going to name it after himself.
Can I ask you, would it bother you if he did?
No, it wouldn't. You know what? Nobody ever brings up the fact that there's a Lincoln bedroom.
I was about to say there's 1,000, there's the Roosevelt this and the Lincoln that. Like, what would be the big deal if this was the Trump ballroom? I'm actually asking, what would be the nuclear meltdown everyone would have? Well, why?
It's the Trump Ballroom Blitz, and I have never seen it. It's sort of a fascinating thing to watch them go bananas over this. But again, it goes to show you they have no policy. They have really, literally zero to run on. They got Attorney General Tish James pleading not guilty today.
Mm-hmm.
And in her thing evoking, basically quoting Martin Luther King Jr. You're not Martin Luther King Jr., Tit James, as I call you. We're close. And I don't know how you get Tish out of her name, by the way, because Letitia, the way she spelled it is tit. So
your personal obsession with that is one of the funniest things, I think. Yeah. But yes, you are absolutely right. I think coming from Spain, I thought it was Letitia. So, who knows how it's pronounced? I'll take
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say why it is that way, but it is that way. And yes, I think it would be a great idea if they named the Trump ballroom, on the East Wing that's being paid for by private donors, the Trump ballroom. I think it would be fantastic. I wanted to bring up something that a lot of people, because so many people outside in Republican circles don't often give credit when change is in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So right now you have, first of all, we've brought up Netflix, which lost a ton of money with what Elon Musk did. Their shares got hit really hard, 5 to 10%. I think the next day they fell off, and they might come back. They might not. Who knows? They also took a third quarter loss, supposedly because of a tax bill in Brazil. That's what they say. Who knows? But people don't realize what Skydance is doing. Now, Skydance is a massive company owned by Larry Ellison and his son, and they've procured CBS, putting Barry Weiss as the head of the news organization. Barry Weiss is a centrist. I don't think anybody could disagree with that. But now they're also buying Warner
Many people,
Brothers.
I think, would try to disagree with that. But in terms of reality, no. It's obviously right. She is a centrist.
She's a centrist. She's gay with kids, okay? With at least kid. She's gay with kid. And that doesn't mean she can't be a conservative, because Scott Besson's also is a conservative now, I believe. But either way, this is huge, and now they're trying to buy Warner Brothers, and this is a big and hopefully eventually TikTok. And I was saying to you before the show, they're worth what? $500 million? I mean, $500 billion.
$500 billion, yeah.
$500 billion. And when you see the numbers and they're like, oh yeah, they bought CBS for $8 billion. And I'm like thinking to myself, when did $8 billion not become a lot of money? And but good for this, because people don't realize this is conservative.
You know when $8 billion stops sounding like a lot of money? When it's something Larry Ellison might drop and then not turn around and pick up again because it's not worth it. I have another 492 of those in my bank account. That's the amazing thing is when you're thinking about something like the big Paramount purchase or the Warner Brothers offers, there are groups that are getting together coalitions. You're talking about massive groups of people who are all pooling their money in order to make an offer. And Larry Ellison literally just says, "I'll write a check." That's when it stops sounding like a lot of money.
But I think I also, though, to the bigger point for conservatives, this is the greatest news you could hope for. Peter Thiel's put together a production company for making American films. There are a lot of people that are really pro-America films that are trying to do this. They're doing what Jerry Bruckheimer did for years by himself, solo in a sense. But this is huge news for conservatives. And when people say, what do I watch? Well, it's important to start supporting these platforms. So support CBS, support Paramount Plus, support these organizations. And it doesn't mean that they're going to have everything on it that caters to you. Okay?
And I'll tell you what, if you look at who's coming out against it, it tells you who you should be working on behalf of or voting on behalf of. The fact that the Writers Guild of America, a group that took forever to really recognize there were Jews in their midst, but beyond that, after October 7th, had a real hard time condemning the atrocities because they were worried about the people inside their organization, what they might say. This is a group that has no spine. This is a group that has no balls, and of course they immediately came out. We will explicitly oppose a deal like this. This will harm writers. This will harm consumers. This will chill competition. Blah 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 blah. And you're seeing this over and over again. All the people who are anti a merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers are the same people that, if you really dig deep down, are people that you shouldn't be on the side of. And the thing that they're forgetting is that basically what Ellison is doing, David Ellison, Larry Ellison, all of Skydance in general, as they're trying to bring together Paramount and Warner Brothers, is kind of that old school media concept where they're saying, right now, what are we going to do? Just become a tech-driven society where everything is based on algorithm? Because believe me, that is what's happened. If you think about Netflix is not a company that is based on creativity. Netflix is it's a tech company based on an algorithm. How do I get you and your eyeballs to stay here? It's not because the content is good. It can be because of outrage. It can be because of any number of things. And you're seeing that even with places like Disney Plus. I'm not talking about when you look at the kid version, which is bad enough with all the subliminal messages they're trying to seep in there. But I'm talking about, go look at the adult version. The same thing. It's the same thing. It says Disney Plus. It has that cute D on it, but it has the same garbage content that all the other streaming services have. And this year, the idea of going into a more legacy kind of space where you can actually talk about content, rich, globally scaled American media, that's something I think we can all be cheering on.
And they're also avoiding the same pitfalls right now of what all of them did in the beginning when they were trying to compete with Netflix, right? Where each company was trying to build their own streaming site instead of, but I don't want to get into that'll be like a 30-minute conversation.
It'll also get too wonky.
Too wonky of why all of them failed. I'm just saying to people, this is good stuff. This is good news. And this is men's brought up before, the canary in the coal mine. This could only have sort of a good effect on, so let George Soros buy the 300 radio stations. Go for it. Have at it, George. You're decades late with the radio ad buys. And I love that these guys are revolutionaries and good for them. I do want to talk about this Tish James things. Yes, but you see, here's the thing, Golan. I can't for the life of me understand why she isn't being arrested for harboring two felons in two different houses. This is the thing I don't understand is she was aiding and abetting her two nieces I had to correct them the other day. They're like, oh, so it's two separate houses. Yes, two separate houses in Virginia, two nieces that were felons on the lam.
Isn't that also, by the way, isn't it the weirdest story that she had this house? That's bad enough that she claimed this was a residence or this was a second house. But okay, let's put that aside. She had a house. She was harboring a felon. Okay, that's number one. Then she had another house and she was harboring another felon. Is that That's just the weirdest thing. I mean, obviously there's a pattern here. How many other houses do we not know about and felons do we not know about? But it's so bizarre that it wasn't just one, that it's almost like if it was one, we could have a conversation about, it's still a felony. It's still something that we can talk about getting indictments for and all of that. But when it's two, how are we even hesitating for a moment?
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And I just saw this yesterday. There's a podcast where Stephen Miller was called like a Jewish Nazi, and by these two female, well, one of these female podcast hosts, or it might have been a network, so it doesn't really matter. Obviously, anything to get eyes. I mean, and really, it's so sad that that's what we've become, is anything to get attention, and we see it. We see it all over. It's like when people talk about Charlie Kirk, there was something really incredible about the way he did his work. Yes, they were streamed the videos and all that stuff, but it was one-on-one. There was something so organic about what he was doing. And you could feel every time this Nazi thing, fascism thing, and it's not just it's not organic, it's dangerous. And I can't, I mean, I don't know how many times we could say that, but we're seeing the results of this danger. This isn't like we're like speculating on what could happen by using this terminology. That's why I'm so protective of ICE and our law enforcement, is because we see them being attacked. We see attacks in America. So at a certain point, it's like there has to be, and I get it, this free speech thing. I don't go on. We're getting to that point.
No, I agree with you completely. And of course, the minute you bring up, by the way, it was Robert De Niro who called him a Jewish Nazi. Let's be clear.
There was somebody else too. There
Yeah,
was a
somebody
woman
else
yesterday.
there was somebody on a podcast, but the big one was De Niro saying it because he said it on such a large stage, and he's such a towering figure. I mean, obviously less so over the years, but if you really think about it, if you're talking about the guy from Raging Bull and Godfather and Taxi Driver and all of these classic things, he's still doing massive movies, and this is a guy who comes out and makes a big thing on, I think it was on MSNBC, by the way, making a big show about how Stephen Miller is a Nazi. And the first thing, of course, you think of as you bring up is Charlie Kirk. The first thing that you think of is this is still such a fresh wound, that the rhetoric that you are spewing, accusing people of these heinous things that are patently not just untrue, but absurd, to use the comparison, is actually causing violence. Okay, so this is something that the minute you say a word like fascist or Nazi or any of these other words that are being bandied around like candy, this is something that has now put people's lives in danger. There should be a legal repercussion, as you mentioned once upon a time, to it. It's moral vandalism. And that kind of outrage that is being elicited as a result of it is something that now has put a target instantly on Stephen Miller's back. Right. And a lot of people would say, and I'll just say one more thing about it. A lot of people say, it's you're devaluing words that have meaning. So if everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi, then the term means nothing. And I argue the opposite. I argue that when you are using terms that are so incendiary that it's not that they lose their value, but that every single person suddenly becomes a high value target. Every single person that you accuse suddenly gets a target on their back. It's not that everyone's a Nazi, we can ignore it. It's everyone's a Nazi, and therefore there's an army of people that I have to kill if I'm a moral person listening to Robert De Niro or whoever it is.
Listen, I think that's a great point. I really do. It's a fantastic point. And this is another story that nobody's going to hear about. And it's Hamtramck mayor's nomination by Trump in trouble after fiery hearing anti-Semitic claims. And somebody sent this message to us this morning. The nomination of, where's Hamtramck? Hamtramck mayor.
That's the Michigan. Isn't that Hamtramck, Michigan? Isn't where the Muslim
Michigan,
mayor
right.
is?
Yeah. Right. Mayor Amir Ghalib to be President Trump's ambassador to Kuwait. So this is a person, Ghalib's nomination. So this is a person who said his social media post comparing Jewish people to monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
He called Saddam Hussein a martyr. Apparently publicly denounced a city appointee comment that the Holocaust was God's advanced punishment for Israel's action in Gaza, followed by the Hamas attacks.
Yep.
I said to somebody, I don't know who I said, maybe said it in the group. I said, this is like Laura Loomer. It's not, she doesn't have gaydar, but she has like a jihadar, however you want to say it. But the fact that this guy is up for ambassadorship to Kuwait is an absolute embarrassment, and they really need to do deeper dives into who they're appointing so this does not come up. It should not come up that both Republicans and Democrats are arguing why this guy should not be appointed. And it wouldn't take that much digging, Golan.
This is, to me, this is just a failure of a whole slew of people not doing their job properly. That's it. That's all it is. It's literally the easiest thing in the world. How many times have we seen this in the corporate world, right? Where they, or SNL, whether we like or dislike him, the idea that if they're anti someone who's ever made a controversial comment and they're going to offer a job to somebody, and then after they offer a job and publicly announce it, then go, oh my God, we just found out all of his public podcasts have all these controversial things. Now we will fire him. It's like, well, okay, that's on you because you didn't do your due diligence properly. Here, as you said, we have a guy with anti-Semitic posts, praising dictators, open sympathy for anti-American regimes, beady Holocaust denialism, Saddam Hussein love, all the rest. Did you even look before you made the offer, or did someone not care, or what the hell is going on here? So the fact that this is all coming out after the offer or after the discussion about this offer has already gone out, it's mind-boggling that someone could have failed this badly.
I nominate Laura Loomer. I know she might be sometimes a few cards short of a few things, but when it comes to this stuff, Laura Loomer is always on the right.
You're nominating her to be the ambassador to Kuwait?
No, that would actually be amazing. That would be fantastic. No, I'm nominating her for like the gaydar position for jihad. Like however that would be, like this woman sniffs out sellouts, she sniffs out jihadists, she sniffs out everybody that's not loyal to Trump's agenda. I've never witnessed somebody be so on point with either she has the best source in the White House, or she spends 22 hours a day looking at these things because she's done exceptional work.
Well, if that's the case, her jihadar is really on point. You're right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm not saying she's the one that broke the story. I'm just saying it's so many over and over and over again. This is something she's constantly talking about, and good for her. And good for her for never backing down, especially, I don't know if people saw that Candace Owens this week implicitly said pretty much that Trump was that Trump had something to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination, and that we even have to deal with this is insane. So that's my Laura Loomer plug. As we're closing up shop, Golan, I want to give a recommendation.
Wait, are we going to talk at all about the Candace Owens thing, or it's just a waste of time and we're not going to even give it any weight?
What's to talk about? It's like talking about the mental patient that tried to escape last week.
Well, here's the one thing I will say about it is she still has a massive audience. And one thing you see when you are looking at people posting like, look at this crazy thing that Candace Owens said, underneath it, the comments consistently are like, man, you can call her crazy, but girl consistently asks the right questions, or girl's consistently looking to the right place, or she holds truth to power, or whatever crazy shit people say underneath it. And there's still many people supporting her. She's in the top 10 most listened to podcasts out there, at least when it comes, I don't even think when it comes to a topic, I think in general. And this is what I wanted to ask about, is you're looking at someone who, let's not use the word crazy or a conspiracy theory, all the things that apply to her. Let's move all those away and just say, there's no evidence. There's no publicly verified evidence of anything that she says. She just goes out there and says, they definitely killed you. And then she slaps a name on the end of it. So the fact that she's done this and it keeps getting more and more unhinged and the accusations keep becoming more and more wild and less fact-based. And yet people are still just marching along like a Pied Piper behind her. What does that say about society? What does it say about social media? What does it say about the power of influence? What does it say about how dangerous all of this is right now? Whether it's her or any of these other people like the Tuckers or anyone else that are leading people down the primrose path, to hell.
Yeah, you're completely right. Listen, in my wildest dreams, I think in anybody or in all of our wildest dreams, we were not ready for this. You know, it took. I always think about it like this. For when was the phone? Let's say, how many people had a phone in their house for 80 years go on before the phone became a cellular phone, before the phone became a device that you could get. We were so unprepared, and who could prepare us for everything, for all this content, for everything that came along like this? I mean, think about it. It took
Yeah.
80 years to get the cell phone, and it took us like 10 minutes to get to the iPhone. And then it took us a second and a half to get to the next thing. And I don't think we were ready for it. I just don't think we were ready for it. And I don't think we know how to fight it right now.
Well,
I
look,
don't
we're
think
still dealing with, in the 80s, telemarketing exploded, right? Call centers popped up and it was cold calling and this and that. They all had scripts and psychological tricks. That was in the 80s. We're still doing the same thing. It's just via text. It's via this. It's via, fake emails, all that. We're still in the exact same boat we were in the 80s. Just the technology has changed. So your point is well taken.
every once in a while, my point is well taken. Yes, and I, along with other people, are extremely disturbed by Tucker Carlson being at Turning Point USA. They,
Again.
and
Again.
I'm not gonna be one of these people that just ignores it. TPUSA really needs to do a lot of soul searching if you are gonna have Tucker Carlson up there on stage. It's disgusting. And again, yes, I get it. He has a huge platform, but
So did Hitler.
yeah, well said. I don't need to say any more after that. I just wanted to give a Jon Voight recommendation because I love Jon Voight, not only because I met him, but I love him as an actor. And I caught this movie he did on Amazon Prime called Shadowland. It was with Rona Mitra, who I love, if that's how you pronounce her name.
That is how you
And
pronounce her name.
it's a very small, like, independent, really good movie where he plays a former president, and it's fantastic. It's Jon Voight. I encourage everybody to watch it. It's called Shadowland, and it's with another actor that I like. I would not know his name if he paid me. So that is my movie recommendation for the weekend, Golan. Shadowland.
Well, good to know. I haven't seen it. I love it when you recommend a movie that I haven't seen. I'm a big fan of Rona Mitra, actually. I think she's stunning. And I love Jon Voight. So I will check that out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, I had no idea who she was. I mean, she did this show called The Last Ship, and she was on it for a couple seasons. And I was like, why do you get rid of her? I mean, she's absolutely might be one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. If you ever saw the movie Underworld, or you ever watched Hollow Man, she's this British actress she's just stunning. There's no other way to put it. Big fan.
Yeah. Huge fan. So on that note, it's good to see you. I'm not sure if we'll be seeing you on Monday. You will let us know.
My intention is to be here
in that bomb shelter. And on that note, I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the show, downloading the show, and following us from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. You can find us at thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.